All right. Good night. It's Jim, and you're with the long game. Hey, listen, we got a big show tonight. It's a little bit late. I realize that we're getting a late East Coast start tonight, but hey, good for the West Coast. Four big things tonight, and we're gonna start with. Well, let me just tell you what the four things are. Tulsi Gabbard has put a threat assessment out that we're going to come back and talk about that should be concerning for every American, particularly as we think about today, tomorrow, the next day, and we're going to talk about a couple things tied to that. The Iran war is expanding. We've got low munitions. Um, if you think about the number of munitions that we've used in the last 15 days, it is a big number. It's huge, right? How you couldn't expect the president to do it any other way. But we've got to now replace these things, and we got to replace them with some affordable munitions. And then the Strait of Hormuz, we've got stuff to talk about. Best up is right off the bat. Really, the Iran war is expanding, or at least it seems like it. We heard a couple hours ago, a couple of nights ago, actually, that Iran was looking to make a deal, and I know they're having a discussion. We've got the 5 days. You remember our last podcast, we were 24 hours away from total destruction in the Iran oil reserve. Yet here we are, and the very, I think, within 6 hours of that podcast, we had heard that Iran was actually going to have a discussion with the U.S. The president agreed to allow that that kind of stay of the 48-hour warning, and it appears that there's been some back and forth. Now, I've heard in the media, you've probably seen this in the media. The media always exaggerates the 15 points, and they say, we have to give up all our military bases in the Middle East. That's not going to happen. We have to create a new currency exchange to allow ships to go through the Strait of Hormuz. So, for the blessing of Iran allowing ships to pass through the strait, we'll have to come up with a currency. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that what is likely to happen if Iran doesn't come and think about this quickly is what we started with a couple of nights ago. And you remember the island there, that Karg Island has about 20% of the. Let's actually go to a slide that we've got. So about 20% of the entire world's oil is represented by what comes off of Karg Island there. But more importantly, 90 to 95% of Iran's oil. So if you really want to take Iran out of the picture as a global player, you cut off their pocketbook. And if it would not take a large force to take Karg, we deployed today 1,000 soldiers from the 82nd. That included, by the way, so it's not just that we deployed 1,000 soldiers, but we deployed 1,000 soldiers from the 82nd, and we sent their commander with them. That means we've got a 2-star general in the area, somebody ready to command. This is we got the headquarters staff deployed. That's a division level command element, which seems to signal something beyond we're about to shake hands and walk away. At the very least, it's a not so subtle reminder to Iran and the leadership, whoever that may be today, that now is the time to make this deal and for us to bring this to a conclusion. You got a 5-mile landmass that covers that. And I'm sorry, I'm not seeing this, so our screens are down today. Do we have the slide up? So if we look at the slide, let me just pull it up here. We've got what, a 27-mile stretch, right, of waterway that we're trying to cover in that Strait of Hormuz. Not very far. I mean, remember earlier in the week we had a 2,000-mile shot from the missiles that were being launched there in Iran. So 27 miles, very much within the range of Iranian certainly missiles, Iranian drones, their ships, their fast-moving attack boats, whatever we want to call that. I don't know if it's a Chris Craft with a machine gun, but they've got them and they use them. The at the end of the day, we think about Karg Island and we think about sending, troops here. We've already sent 5,000 Marines. We've also sent the Iwo Jima. We've got I'm sorry. We've got Marines in the region that I think total we're looking at about 7,000 new troops on top of the existing footprint. So if I'm getting this right, we're about 50,000 troops in the region that could potentially take action. We are not going to need 50,000 troops to take Karg Island. We're not going to need 50,000 troops to turn off the oil for Iran. So seizing Karg would give U.S. control of the Iran oil exports. It would crush the backbone of the economy, and we'd then have a foothold in the waterway. I think at some point the conversation is going to have to be held. Who needs to manage that Strait of Hormuz? Is it the United States? Is it someone who's strong enough to actually make sure that the oil gets through? Now, why is this important? Well, if you were tracking and paying attention to what happened in the Philippines today, is the Philippines actually are under an energy stress. I mean, they have announced we have an energy emergency. We've got a problem because of this crisis. So they've already declared a national energy emergency, citing imminent danger to energy supply stability due to the war in the Straits. This can't be left to go. And look, this isn't like this just happened in the last month. This has been going on year after year after year that you've had the Iranians threatening to shut down the Strait. It's about time that somebody takes control to say Iran doesn't have that kind of power, and will project power if we have to do that. Iran says it's prepared for a U.S. invasion. Its parliamentary speaker warned, "Do not test our resolve to defend our land." Look, I get that, and if Iran didn't act irrationally and didn't make threats to kill everybody in the world and to promote terrorism, I think we could probably get past this. We'd probably be at a point where we didn't have to worry about that. But because they can't do that, we've had, you know, I guess issue after issue with Iran over the last 40 years. Not just one leader, it's all the leaders are on this Kool-Aid that causes them to get out and threaten the world. Do what we want or else. Do what we want or we'll kill you. Do what we want. I mean, their intifadas, their whole idea of paying for proxies to go and rate and wage war against any of their enemies. It's disgusting and terrible. Now we're at a point where we've got our foot on their chest, right? And we can't stop at this point. So I understand this may not be as fast as we wanted it to be. It may take a little more time than we want it to take, but stay the course, fight for the victory that we need. We can't walk out of there with them refilling their lungs with, not only will they refill it with the oil and their reserves with oil, but what they'll also be doing is talking about how the evil Satan was defeated by the strong, superior Iranian forces. We know that's not true, and I don't know that it's going to serve us well, other than the politicians who want to be reelected by getting out of the war, getting out of any sort of enforcement. Look, maybe the answer is we shouldn't have gone there, but we're there, and we can't leave these things half done. The real question is, are we dealing with, is this coercive diplomacy at this point? Threatening a ground force to simply bring Iran to the table. We're going to know pretty fast. I can tell you, in my experience, we don't see division elements deploy as a bluff, right? I mean, we may see some little things, but come on, this is certainly a moment that we either get in and prove that the surge is going to expose the decades of just-in-time, deliveries here in the region, or we're going to see the Persian Gulf break into a turmoil that's hard to overcome. The second thing that's really on my mind is the munitions. And this came up earlier from a Pentagon report in the Senate Armed Services hearing on Tuesday. So if you saw, we've obviously, you see how many missiles, and you've heard how many missiles we fired. I think 16,000 in one day. That leaves our supplies a little bit low. So we've got to come back and get those supplies reconstituted. We've got to have those things ready. And to do that, we need somebody like uh, the defense industrial base to actually fill those coffers again. But we've got to do it not with these antiquated missiles that are so expensive. We've got to have a way that we can come and bring affordable munitions. It's 2026. Senator Jack Reed says, "Hey, we're still forced to buy these expensive munitions. There's cheaper solutions out there, and we've seen this. So there's got to be some planning and some thoughts around this. Defense industrial base that we started with early in the year, actually at the beginning of this term for President Trump, was to rebuild that defense industrial base. And how do we get this happening? How do we really make this grow? Well, it's going to take companies, it's going to take people, American companies who get involved and they build designs and they deliver at scale with an affordable cost. We've got to build it back. I mean, it's just part of it. You can't have these weapons set on the shelves until they've been there for 20 years and then you don't use them and now suddenly you've got to use them and we can't wait 2 and 3 years to replenish. We've got to be able to replenish these things quickly. These old munitions take years to rebuild. We need munitions that we can put back in days. Um, we've obviously got a rationing problem. I mean, we're not only covering the war right now in Iran, but before this we've been sending Ukraine a good bit. There's a fair amount here. Now, compare this to China. In China, we see that China in particular, you know, they've built an infrastructure for manufacturing. They've got low-cost autonomous weapon systems. Um, we're great at innovation. We're great at AI. We've got to be able to pull these things in and use them. Epic Fury has exposed, at least a fracture within our system. We've got to figure out how to mend that fracture, and mending that, we come back stronger. That's the way bones work, right? You break a bone, you come back stronger where you've been healed. We've got to do the same thing from the defense industrial base. We've got to come out, find the munitions, build those things. There's money here for it, right? We got $1 trillion budget last year passed by the Defense Department. Because of the shutdowns, because of the delays, we've got a significant amount of money that's sitting around that we can push out to get these munitions paid for. We just need to have the programs, the contracts, and the contracting methodology that lets us do this quickly. And then we've got to not stop once that's fulfilled. We've got to do it again and again and again and be ready. We can't have a defense industrial base that sits around for 30 years. We had 20 years of war. We should have already solved this problem with cheaper munitions. Instead, we threw money at the problem. Now we've got to come and we've got to be practical. You don't take out a $250 pickup truck with a $2 million missile. If you do, there should be a really good reason to do that. And maybe there's a way that we can find the munition matches the target. Still effective, still deadly, still lethal. It doesn't mean it has to be $2 million. So, kind of bringing this full circle back to Tulsi Gabbard. So let's look at that slide. We've got the slide on the Golden Dome. All right. So everybody knows, one thing about President Trump is everything's going to be golden, right? So the Golden Dome, we've got the Golden Fleet, we've got the Golden Staircase, we've got, gold probably all over Mar-a-Lago, but we've got the Golden Dome. And, not to make fun of the Golden Dome, the idea is great. I mean, this has been around since the 80s when Ronald Reagan was talking about, the idea that we could have Star Wars, that we would have a system up in space that would shoot down missiles as they went into space before they could descend on America or on our allies. Tulsi Gabbard says today, 16,000 missiles aimed at the homeland by 2035. Today, it's 3,000. So we know that there are about 3,000 missiles worldwide that are pointed at the U.S. Now, you think about that difference. How are we going to handle 16,000, right? it's 5 times the amount of what we have today. So, if that's true, by 2035, that 16,000, we've gone from 3,000 to 6,000. Russia, China, North Korea, weapons pointing our way. This whole idea of the Golden Dome is really fantastic. I mean, and it seems like it is viable. We see it in Israel. We see when the Iron Dome goes up. Everybody's seen the cases where Iron Dome issues are popping in, um, and they take the highest percentage of missiles out. Now, we're a more populated, particularly on the seaboards. We're much more populated on the east and west coast, so we've got to pay attention. We can't let a missile get through. I'm sure the Israelis don't want to let a missile get through either, but we've got to have ways to do that. So I want to know what you're thinking. One, first question that I have is, what do you think about this expanded war in Iran? Or and we can't really say it's fully expanded, but I just suspect we're about to hit some ground time in Iran. What do you think about that? Number two, what about these missiles? Do we have to? And I mean, maybe you've got a good argument. Maybe there's something out here that I don't know about, and there's a natural reason that these missiles cost what they cost. I, I just don't know the answer. It seems to me that we don't always match the weapons that we're going to use with what the targets are. But I want to know, what do you think there? And then lastly, tell me what you think about the good old Golden Dome, and how we roll a Golden Dome into place. And I'll tell you, talk about the Defense Industrial Base. That is another place where we're going to have to see American industry, American innovation really step in and move fast. Um, we don't have a lot of time between now and 2035, which seems a little scary that I'm even saying that. Makes me so much older than I was, you know, a few years ago. So so we have some time, but we don't have a lot of time. So are we building a system that's going to be obsolete before it's fielded? Are we waiting for all those programs that the Defense Department is really well known for? They come up with a requirement and it has to go through lots of vetting, and by the time it's vetted, it's already outdated. So we start building the outdated system only to deliver something and then say, "Guess what? We need a new one." And every time we repeat, it's over and over and over. Now, that's not to say we don't have really great cutting edge technology. We have fantastic cutting edge technology. But this is one of those areas where it is a do not fail kind of mission. So, what do you think about Tulsi's threat assessment? What do you think about the Golden Dome? I'm curious. I want to hear. Now, I do not have the feed today, so I can't see if there are comments from you. They're just not popping up in my system. Um, I don't know. Can we while we wait to see if we can get some on this screen? I want to ask you a question, or I want to share with you a couple of funny things that have popped up today. So there is a town in Texas called Bug Tussle, Texas. And if you've ever been to Bug Tussle, Texas, let us know. Let us know in the comments. So, small town of Bug Tussle, Texas, no longer will receive road signs from the Department of Transportation. Now, why is that? Well, because they keep getting stolen. So, as soon, I guess everybody in Texas wants a sign that says Bug Tussle, Texas. So think about think about that. We got a global energy crisis. We've got the Golden Dome going. We're building more missiles. We've got all sorts of things happening around the world, and there are good people in America down near Bug Tussle, Texas, who are saying, "Man, I need a sign." And that's the one I need. So if you're the guy collecting the sign and you're on this podcast, we want to know that too. Send us a picture. It must be fabulous. It must be fantastic. Now, seriously, today is a really important day in kind of American, I guess, remembrance. And this is the Medal of Honor Day. So it's the day that we think about all the Medal of Honor winners. And I will tell you, there are some really fantastic stories. If you have not gone there before, there is a website. cmohs.org, and that's the Medal of Honor holders. And I'll tell you, there's a video there that just kind of explains what is the Medal of Honor, how do you get it, and these guys who have had many enthralling stories. Really, if you see it, you will understand and appreciate it. It's about a 5 minute long video, and I hope you'll take some time to watch it. Um, we were going to share it with you tonight, but I know it's late. I know it's 9:40, and I know that many of you, in fact, most of you probably have work tomorrow. So if you're not too tired, go over there, watch the Medal of Honors, watch those videos at the Medal of Honor Center, and there's a guy on there, Walter Marm. I'm just going to tell you, you're going to appreciate it. It's about 5 minutes long. You're going to appreciate seeing it. But I think we're out of luck with technical difficulties with the with being able to see any of the feed tonight, so we can't see your comments. We'll see them later. Really sorry about that. It does make the show a little harder. You know, if I can see your comments, it's a little easier to follow what questions you guys are asking. But next time we will see you and talk much more. And look, stay close to this, because I think we're going to hear things on Iran probably in the next 2 to 3 days. So hang in there.